Good afternoon and welcome to the OOH-RAH Report podcast. I am your host, Anthony Cabro. Joined alongside me now is my friend Carlos and my brother Christopher. And today we are talking about Marvel, the MCU in general.
Hi, Anthony. Very good to be back.
I'm excited to talk about the MCU.
All right, so first things first is we actually do have some breaking news for the MCU. As earlier today or yesterday, depending on when you guys are watching this video, the president of Marvel came out, Kevin Feige, he came out and said that Deadpool 3 is officially happening and it will be rated R. So there's a lot to kind of unpack with that announcement.
Right. Well, I wasn't really surprised.
Well, you knew it was happening,
Yeah.
but you wanted the confirmation that it
Well, there was a possibility it wasn't going to be rated R.
That I was a little scared, but I mean, I'm still not really that surprised. It's Deadpool.
Yeah. It would have been a waste not to have it in the rated R format.
No, yeah, but I'm very excited to see what they bring to the table now that they have this large range of characters that we have in the MCU. I want to see him interact with Spider-Man, though.
Yeah.
Very badly.
The Spider-Man Deadpool duo is like infamous.
Well, I think to be 100% honest, there's no way this is happening, and I think this is gonna happen in Phase 5.
Yeah,
it has to be.
no.
So you'll get, because Spider-Man 3 is in December. So, and we know that from literally I think the end of this week to this time next year, literally every single thing that's coming out of Marvel is gonna have to do in some way to the multiverse. So we know something's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting part about the multiverse and Deadpool and all these characters is like in past movies we've seen him interact with maybe 3 other mutants. And they had an Easter egg in Deadpool 2 with the X-Men. But I think we're really going to see him mention more characters. He's definitely going to make a fourth wall break about being in the MCU, which I am so excited about.
Well, now my question is this: do you think that this Deadpool will be just like it's going to be the same Deadpool we've had for the first 2 movies?
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that they completely cut off everything that happened with the X-Men and all that? Because don't forget, you see a helicarrier in Deadpool 1.
Yeah.
And there's other like nods to that, but we're not getting. I don't think we're gonna get the same X-Men as we did in like Apocalypse. And
there's a
Phoenix.
high chance that we could get them back because the multiverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we already saw that they're kind of retconning
Well,
the teams that they had in the 2010s, because we
Well, yeah.
saw that happen with both Fantastic Four.
But I mean, realistically, like you said, maybe Deadpool 3 is a situation where he actually gets thrown from one universe to another, and he ends up in this new one in the quote-unquote 616 or whatever the number would be.
Well, it is. I'll be honest. I'll just clarify that now.
It's not 616.
No, it is the 616.
I thought they said it wasn't.
No, because on Disney Plus, in the Marvel thing, they have a new show that's called The 616, which talks about the stories of the characters that are in the MCU. So the actual canon MCU is the 616.
For those of you listening who aren't sure what we mean when we say 616, the Marvel Universe, main Marvel Universe in the comics is referred to as 616. So obviously everyone was waiting for the multiverse in the MCU to be referred to as 616. So it's basically the canon version of all Marvel movie lore.
Yeah.
Every other movie that's not part of the MCU is considered not in 616.
Yeah. So, that basically is my question: is do you guys think that we will get like the X-Men being, I don't know, let's just say for argument's sake, because I don't know all the universes, but let's just say 617.
I mean, I think
And Deadpool hops between in the multiverse of madness, because that's where everything's culminated.
that would make a lot of sense to me
Right.
if he just kind of jumps from universe to universe somehow. I mean, he's not exactly foreign from dealing with cosmic entities to make that happen. There's a whole comic book series about him fighting Thanos with death and eternity. So he's not exactly a stranger from these kind of events. I think it'd be cooler if he jumped universes rather than retconning, because it shows the emphasis on how big the MCU really is.
Well, what I'm actually hoping for, and this I'll get into this point when we talk about one of the segments later, and I think there's one character that the entire multiverse is going to revolve around, and it's not Doctor Strange. And I'll get into why later, especially now that we do know that the X-Men will be in the MCU at some point. I feel like where this is going to... I think they have a perfect opportunity to do what I want them to, and it will be great. And it's a really good comic that they could adapt.
We can name it.
Yeah, House of M.
Oh.
House of M is good, and I really hope they do that, especially because now literally by Friday, by the time this video is going out, by the Friday of this week, we will be thrust into that kind of craziness, and I'm very excited for it.
Well, I guess it's really only going to be a wait and tell kind of situation. Our next podcast, we should probably address it.
Oh, we'll bring it up.
See.
We'll probably bring it up. Yeah.
But I'm very excited for WandaVision.
Oh
yeah.
my God, that's
Jesus.
yes, that is. I think I've never been more excited
for a TV
for
show.
a TV show.
A TV
in my
show,
life.
yeah.
Because it just opens up the possibilities for so many different multiverse level events. Like in
Yeah.
every other movie or comic or TV series, it's very limited to the confines of the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
And WandaVision is such a you don't know what the story of WandaVision is. You know what it is for Winter Soldier and Falcon. You know what it is going to be for Moon Knight and She-Hulk. Because it's gonna be pretty linear. Even Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will probably have a very linear storyline, but WandaVision will no doubt be very sporadic. You're not gonna be able to tell what's going on.
No. See, now this is where I said was coming into play, because they already announced that Wanda is gonna be in Doctor Strange too. That was announced already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think she's the villain.
Really?
I've been waiting to explain this
because
because
that's a waste.
I don't think so. I think because I don't think you finish her story there. I think that is the point where she goes, she loses it, because in the comic,
WandaVision or
no,
Doctor
at
Strange?
the end of WandaVision, you basically, because in what I think is happening in WandaVision is the government's trying to contain her craziness.
Okay.
And they do a very piss poor job at it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you say contain her craziness,
No, because you see that. You see them do that.
We know she's crazy because, let's be honest, if you're a Marvel fan, you know that the whole story is that she does go crazy.
Yes, she does go crazy.
She falls in love with Vision, and she ends up being... She is by far the most powerful person in the MCU right now.
Yeah.
Probably even more in Thor if you give her actual untapped potential.
Oh, no, yeah.
Which I think they will do. I think what's going to happen is WandaVision, because it's the run of it for at least this season, because this season is gonna lead up into the government and SHIELD/SWORD trying to contain her going crazy.
Okay.
And then at the end of that, they're like, all right, we can't do this. Bring in Doctor Strange.
But then how does that go into Spider-Man? Because
here's what I think. I think by the entire, because the title is Multiverse of Madness.
But doesn't Spider-Man come out first?
No, Spider-Man comes out. I'll check.
I'll
check that right now. Spider-Man comes out before
you said
that.
December, right?
Yes. So, and Multiverse of Madness comes out March 25th, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is going to happen is, yes, you'll set that up. Spider-Man will formally... I think what's going to happen is going to be like Ant-Man and the Wasp and
how is Spider-Man going to have...
Infinity War. Like, no, wait. I think it's going to be that. I think they're going to be like two films that are just linear to themselves, like how Ant-Man and the Wasp was with Infinity War. Like at the end, things did, like the snap happened.
Well,
at
can
the
we
end
address something for a second? Right now, Spider-Man has been made out to be this kind of like low-level hero, and even though he really, in reality, has access to Tony Stark level funds, how is he gonna have a multiverse level event?
It's easy.
I don't know.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Let's say
he has been very reliable on other people.
Yeah.
Here's my thing.
And I think he could be very well on his own, but how is he going to meet people from another dimension?
Yeah.
This is what I think is going to happen. Once again,
if you say Doctor Strange comes in.
No, I think no. Well, first of all, Benedict Cumberbatch is confirmed for Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, but
that was formally announced.
This man is just causing a lot of problems.
He is. But what I think is happening, and you can debate me if I'm wrong, but this is what I think will happen. Everything starts with WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it has to.
Everything starts there.
Explosion in her brain and
no, yeah, I think by the end of that, she goes berserk, and you start to, and by the there'll probably be a post-credit scene where you start to see cracks in reality, which we have like multiversal cracks where things can fall through. That's where I think Spider-Man comes in. You'll start to see Doc Ock end up in, let's say, Andrew Garfield's universe, and you'll see Elektra end up in Tobey's universe, and then they all have to intervene against the Sinister Six, because that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
In Holland's universe.
What? I can see that. I can see that being a possibility.
I understand what you're saying, but then this raises the question, not for the possibility of it, but for what the plan for Marvel and Disney really is. Because what you're saying basically crosses over a TV show into the movie universe, and then that goes into the conversation of how much of this is really going to end up connecting to what happened before and what goes on?
Well,
in the
this is what
future?
they said.
Is Spider-Man going to appear in these TV shows? Because as far as I know, no.
You don't have to have
Hold
him
on.
connect.
No movie character who's not in these shows is lined up to appear in the TVs. Like Doctor Strange isn't set up to appear in WandaVision. Spider-Man's not set up to.
We
appear
don't
in
know
WandaVision.
that.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
But
you know,
like, what's the realistic?
They've kept that secret to us before.
I don't know. I think that's going to be a bit of a stretch to imagine. Like, let's be honest. These people are not cheap.
Disney's not cheap.
But to pay some of these actors what they're going to need to appear once in TV show is going to be quite the event. And it's not like anything's kept secretly anymore.
Like let's be honest though. We know that Disney, especially now, like before COVID and everything, Disney's whole plan was, all right, this is going to be a reason to watch Disney Plus. Those movies, every movie on this list that's appearing in 2021 is going to be a joint release. It
really
has
hope
to be.
not.
No, it has to be. There's no way you do that.
I
in
just
this day and
want
age.
some of the movie experience back.
No, you could probably get the option to go see it in the theater, and I will see some of these in theaters.
Okay, but why would you go to it in theaters if you own Disney Plus?
Because they might not give it to you for free.
Yeah, like they did with
They
Mulan.
did that with Mulan. They're doing it with Ra and the Last Dragon. So I know that.
On another note, that's terrible.
Yeah,
But
I hate
whatever.
that.
What?
I
I
really
paid
hate
for
that.
this
It's
service.
a $20. It's no. You get $20 and you own it. That's it. It's
You
just an
gotta
extra
pay
payment.
$20 for it.
Yeah, which is the same price
But
you're
then
gonna
it's
pay for
cheaper to
movie
go.
tickets.
No, it's not.
Well, when we go back to the movies, it will be
Yeah, I guess it'll be.
because
So-
those movie theaters are gonna be very packed, especially the ones that that are left.
But before we even know if we like it or not, they're making us
Pay for it.
pay to own it.
Yeah, and then it'll just become. Then also, don't forget, you can also wait the next. You can also do what me and you did for a while, was wait for the show to come on TV. Wait for the movie to
Yeah,
come on
but it's
TV.
not the same experience.
Well, also, it's only a 3-month gap,
anyway.
so it's not a big deal.
Anyway.
But I think Phase 4 itself is going to be a roller coaster of emotion, and I'm very excited for it. Mostly because we went a whole year without a Marvel movie.
Yeah, which
Marvel anything
hasn't happened in
A very long time.
yeah.
I mean,
years.
besides going to talk about the future, we could also talk about the past.
Well, we're gonna get into that. in
Well,
a
we've
moment.
seen quite a few really awesome MCU movies.
Yeah. So
Besides, Endgame and Avengers and Age of Ultron.
So I'm gonna ask. We're gonna go around the table quick. What was your favorite movie by Phase? We'll start off with Phase 1.
Okay.
I'll open up. My favorite Phase 1 movie is.
Well, can I ask a question? I'm sorry. Before you get your answer, are we including the Avengers
Yeah.
movies? Because those are kind of an event in all of themselves. I don't know if those really count as.
No, I think that you can count those. Because I don't really want to count if it's in the phase in any way.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would
Alright.
count them.
Okay.
My favorite Phase 1 film is Captain America 1. I really enjoyed that film. I feel like it was, the best way you could have done Captain America, because the origin is so basic that I really like the way they did it, and I also like that was the last film before Avengers,
I think it's
and
the
it
most.
sets up a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that you get to
That's
see
true.
in Avengers.
Yeah,
It's the most satisfying origin story. I'll
Yes.
give you that. Definitely.
I feel like it's very underrated. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
include it in their lists, and the first time I watched it, I actually did not like it that much.
Me
I
too.
rewatched it, and I was like, "This is a solid movie."
Yeah.
I saw it on TV, and I think the TV version. I watched the TV version, then I watched it on DVD, and I think the TV version was better because it was shorter.
I mean,
'Cause
yeah.
was
the movie does
That's
drag
what
a
I was
little,
gonna
but I
say.
think it's good.
I think Captain America, from a storytelling point of view, is absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely a lot of it that's kind of empty content, because it is this telling of a
Basic
very, very simple superhero.
Yeah,
When you watch other origin stories like Iron Man and Spider-Man and even Ant-Man, there's such a more interesting story
Backstory,
behind it.
yeah.
Yeah, because you got to know these characters before they become the hero. That's not the case with Captain America.
yeah. You get
He's
20
just,
minutes.
You get 20 minutes of him being him, and then next thing you know, he's a superhero
He's
because
buff as shit. Yeah,
he isn't anything before he's Captain America.
But also,
he's not a dad or a
no. But think about it for a
billionaire or
second.
kid
though.
in high school.
I like that because if you look at the way his character by Endgame,
I'm
let's
not
just say,
questioning his development. I'm just saying that it just as a movie, it's
Like a
kind of-
standalone movie.
Yeah, from a standalone movie.
just imagine it
perspective,
came
it's
out
not-
by itself.
Yeah, it's a bit I wouldn't want to see that again. But
And-
knowing it's Captain America, knowing where it's going,
yeah.
it's more interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, Chris? What was your favorite movie from Phase 1?
From Phase 1, I gotta say Avengers. I mean, of all the Avengers film, there is nothing that really simply tells a true comic book story so well as the first Avengers film. I mean, every character gets their own attention.
Mhm.
They every single one has their own role to play. Like none of them go without development. Even Hawkeye and Black Widow, who didn't have their own solo movies, they all have a little bit of development in the Avengers film that builds off their last story arc and continues to build forward into the future. It's definitely from all the collab movies that you get from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I really do think the Avengers does it simply but also the most efficiently.
All right. I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna argue with you because I feel like at the end of the day, it was the best way. Because don't forget, I literally think if you think about
How
it,
do you top Avengers?
you
I
don't
mean, really
And I think the way that they did it was
brilliant.
absolutely perfect. Because don't forget, I personally think the MCU doesn't become the MCU until Avengers. In
Oh no,
2012.
yeah. I mean, at the time,
that doesn't happen.
at the time we had what, like 4 other superhero movies.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
not only that, there was like simple post-credit scenes that maybe
Yeah.
connected them a little bit.
So
That was
this movie could have easily flopped very
Yeah.
hard.
We'd be in
Yeah.
a very different
Oh no, yeah.
universe at that point.
it's a very simple movie. It's not over the top, but the way they paid like the villain Loki, perfect. The way they used Nick Fury and Shield to bring them together, perfect. The way each of them has their own little like achievement, their own little goal in mind. I mean, it's just overall you can't get much better than that. Even things as simple as Bruce Banner in the end of the movie leaving with Tony Stark pays attention to how like Bruce Banner was by himself, excluding himself from society, ends up in Tony Stark working on new projects. It all works together so well. It's hard to really like throw any single part of it to a wayside. Like I can't think of any, even Thor with his long golden hair fighting the Hulk. Like who didn't want that? Like
That's true. Yeah, honestly, I don't have a lot of complaints
well,
about.
well,
what
what's
about
your
you?
favorite
What's your
from
favorite
Phase
from Phase One?
I would have to go with Iron Man.
Really?
That's a strong choice. Like-
It kickstarted the whole thing. I know Incredible Hulk came out before it, but without it, we wouldn't have this amazing universe. It also cemented Robert Downey Jr. as
Incredible Hulk I thought came out after.
I think it was like either came out before, like a month before, or a month.
Yeah.
No,
after.
it came out after because Tony Stark post-credit scene came in it.
you sure?
Yeah. Because otherwise, then what would the Robert Downey Jr. credit scene really do for us?
That's true because they're
Incredible Hulk came out
Well,
June 13th.
2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it came out
Okay, so
in
remember that June
May.
13th?
I believe
Was
it
Incredible
came
Hulk.
out in May. Iron Man 1.
And Iron Man 1 came. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah,
Came out
you're
what,
right.
May?
Yeah, because I was watching all those memes about how like Iron Man started the MCU, and I was like, well, it really wouldn't have started if Incredible Hulk came out. Anyway, you were
Well,
saying
if you're really gonna push it, then technically Hulk did come out first because I believe
that
Incredible Hulk
2003 doesn't count.
does it not count? 'Cause
No,
I remember somebody.
definitely
no,
not.
no.
Because I remember for the longest time people thought that it was
I
connected.
thought Tobey Maguire.
because they
connected.
they acknowledge.
Anyway, no, they
Oh,
didn't.
didn't they acknowledge 03 Hulk in it?
No, in Avengers they acknowledge 08 Hulk.
Oh, okay.
They
Yeah,
just-
yeah. Mhm.
They just skipped the origin story in 08. Anyway, you were saying about Iron Man.
Oh yeah, it cemented RDJ as the Iron Man. Like
Yeah.
he carried Phase
Yeah.
1, 2,
You know, he
and
carried
3.
the entire Infinity Saga.
He
No, yeah.
basically carried everyone.
Exactly, and the story is not bad. I'm
No, it's good.
like I like how the early MCU movies don't use that many jokes.
Mhm.
Like I'm getting tired of that. If I'm gonna be honest.
Well, it depends the movie. To be
Yeah,
honest,
that's true.
I also think it's the phase. To be honest, like if you look at it, Phase 1 was
they needed
setting
to
up.
adapt.
Don't
Because
forget,
they were getting repetitive.
I think Well, I also think if you look at the time period that all those Phase 1 movies came out, it was post. We were in a post Dark Knight superhero franchise. Moment.
Like we had all
Okay,
the
that's
people,
true.
the
You needed to
Transformers were
be
the
more
hottest thing in the
serious.
world, and those things were dead
Yeah,
serious.
you needed to be serious, and then over time they're like, wait. And then Guardians in Phase 2 kind of said we
Guardians-
can actually be,
Guardians is what changed
funny. And Phase 3 kind of was just like, all right, we already know we have your money, so let's just do whatever we want.
exactly.
And
But-
Phase 4 I think is actually going to be more horror driven, which
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm excited about that.
but I also like how it wasn't that serious as serious as the Dark Knight trilogy
Yeah.
was.
You could have easily that would have flopped, I think, if it was that serious.
Yeah, it also did touch a little bit on his alcoholic side,
Yeah.
even though they never really developed on that.
Well, they did it in Iron Man 2.
I would like to. That's the one thing I will always be sad that we won't get in film form is Demon in a Bottle. Because
Mhm.
Demon in a Bottle is a very good Iron
Well,
Man story.
I mean, even to this day, Demon in a Bottle has followed Iron Man to like the most pinnacle points of his like comic book career. Even at his highest level, he's still an alcoholic, which is kind of scary.
I also kind of get why you don't want to make him an alcoholic in modern mainstream media.
Oh well,
you don't.
Yeah.
But they don't. I mean, I think it is fair to say they did touch upon it, especially in Iron Man 2 when he starts to relapse in a party where he gets drunk.
Yeah.
Was that
So Rhodes
yeah,
says
was,
it's like, what are you still getting drunk like you were?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you acknowledge.
Rhodes acknowledges. But another thing I wanted to say about Iron Man as an origin story, like you said, Captain America was your favorite, and I think it's the best origin story. But I think Iron Man had the best story overall. Like that was a great origin story for a superhero. But the storytelling in Iron Man of how he was the playboy to the savior, to the end of the movie where he finally becomes Iron Man, it's a great. That's what made the MCU possible.
Mm-hmm.
Was stories like that so simply took a character, as simple as Iron Man, and not really the most well-known Marvel character by a long shot.
At that time, he was not.
He was not that well-known. He was an original Avenger. He was popular in the comic book world.
He was considered B-list
at best.
Yeah,
I think most of Marvel's Rogues Gallery had was B-list by the time.
I think so too.
Until Avengers.
There were a lot that in that first 6 that were B-list. Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye. The only big names that were in the MCU were Thor and Captain America and Hulk.
Yeah,
and Thor you can't even really say because Thor
fair.
is a multi like.
Well, yeah, and to be truthful with you had actors like Thor, who Chris Hemsworth, who was a nobody.
At the time he was a nobody.
At the time he was a nobody. Even Mark Ruffalo.
He was in a couple movies.
He was in a lot of dramatic movies.
He wasn't a big star, and then you take this name of Robert Downey Jr., whose name has been taken through the mud at this point.
Yeah.
And give him a shot in Iron Man, and did a phenomenal job with it. I mean, you just can't top a movie that has that much on it.
Also, I love the fact that it's been confirmed that it never really had a solid script.
No, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of
That's the best part about him.
He was mostly
winging
improvised, yeah.
So now we got all of the Phase 1. Because Phase 1 basically is just, I feel like every movie in Phase 1 from Iron Man to Avengers is kind of just lumped because it's all, you're working out the kinks.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 2, I think, is where we start to see more of the Marvel MCU come out. So what is your favorite movie from Phase 2? And I'm going to get a lot of heat from both of you for my pick.
I'm sure.
Oh, boy.
I think he already knows what I'm going to say.
Why don't you start?
Yeah, you start.
I'll start. It's got to be Guardians. It's got to be Guardians.
You know what? That wasn't even in my mind.
Are you serious?
Just totally shattered my.
Well, you forget that Guardians was even.
Well, yeah, because the Guardian again isn't like when I think MCU, I always think like the Earth story. The Guardians is just out there.
You don't forget, we got
they sent
the
us to
cosmic
space.
universe.
They sent us to space in that movie, and no one was expecting it to actually be a good movie.
Oh, everybody said it was going to be garbage. I remember walking into the theater and everybody was like, "Well, this is where they finally let us down," and I walked out like they didn't let us down.
I just want to say what made Guardians so great for me were the colors.
Oh no, yeah, bro, the visuals are literally out of this world.
Obviously, it's all CGI, but when you take a space movie and actually give us something the size of space. How can you hate it?
James Gunn is godly.
Anyone who criticizes James Gunn,
I'm actually looking forward to anything he touches.
Common work.
Yeah,
him and Waititi, I think, have such great directorial visions that they
shape
can't
their characters.
Yeah, they can't do. Like, I'm very excited to see their upcoming projects, Marvel or otherwise.
The Suicide Squad.
Yes, we were. This is not a DC.
I don't think that's gonna land very well, no matter what.
It's gonna be good.
I just want to see Peacemaker.
It's gonna be good.
I don't think it's that it's gonna be good. I'd be honest with you. I think it's more about like
Is it gonna be watchable?
Yeah, like people are expecting things to fail, and when people expect things to fail, the actors expect them to fail, and then it doesn't work.
But we just talked about Guardians.
Well, don't forget.
Well, you also don't have Disney.
Okay, that's
you got to remember
you
that.
Have Warner
Brothers, that makes a
very
difference.
Hesitant to do anything.
Anything with DC, they just want to play it safe.
Why do you think we got just a Wonder Woman sequel?
Anyway, that's for another day.
Yeah, that's another day.
But I do want to add that a close second is Winter Soldier.
Okay, that's my number one.
Yeah, okay.
Just to dive right into that, Guardians is a very close second for me, without a doubt. But, oh my god, the storytelling in Winter Soldier with Bucky Barnes, the visuals of those fight scenes, how well adapted.
It's a spy thriller.
Yeah, it is. The way they fight, the introduction of so many great characters like the Falcon and the recurring of the Hydra. Like, what there is not a dull moment in that entire movie.
I saw it 3 times in like 2 weeks.
Me too.
And
the ending is so good. The way that they fight in that helicarrier. And
Helicarriers, there's 3 of them.
Well, I mean the one they fight
The
in.
one.
The one where they fight in, where they fall out and go into the ocean, like, or lake, or whatever it was. You very rarely can top that. And how they continue the story in Age of Ultron and Civil War, it just set up, like, 6 great movies in a row. Like, you can't beat that.
Also, again, I really dig the serious tone that the movie has.
Yeah.
Again, not too many jokes, and it also did introduce us to the Russo brothers. That was their first film.
Yes, and they went on to do amazing things.
Yes.
I want you to know that the 3 movies that the Russo brothers directed...
No, they did
Marvel,
4.
Well, they did Civil War,
Winter Soldier,
The
Winter
2
Soldier, and
and
Endgame and
Avengers.
Infinity War.
Yeah.
But, okay, of those 4 movies, there are people, including myself, that would try to make the argument that those are the 4 best movies in the MCU.
yes. I think that...
Or at least top 3 between, like, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame.
those are all got to be in the top, I think, in the top
The
5.
top 5.
Have to be.
So, it's, you know, when you have that kind of direction.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and say my favorite movie for Phase 2, and this is
Don't
where...
say Ant-Man.
No, it's Age of Ultron.
Wow.
Wow.
Here's
That was
my
a worse
thing.
answer than Ant-Man.
As long as you
Ew.
didn't say Thor 2.
Well, here's my thing with Age of Ultron. With hindsight, the movie's better than it should be. Because in hindsight, Age of Ultron sets up from basically Winter Soldier. It goes Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, and that sets up everything until Infinity War. So that's the reason I love it, is that it is basically the entire turning point of the MCU. Despite the movie because the movie is not that great. It's not. But once again, you get introductions of good characters such as Wanda, which we just spent the entire first portion of the podcast
Yeah,
talking
but they
about.
also kill off great characters like Quicksilver.
I hated that.
No, that was copyright, which you can actually revive him now, and everybody is allowed to be okay.
Okay,
with
but you know what drives me crazy about that is just the fact that it was such a great character. And I applaud them for actually taking the initiative to kill a character, because that's also something that's very rare.
But not the first movie he appears in,
He could
man.
have appeared,
Well,
he could have
yeah,
died in Civil War. I think that would
once
have been
again,
stellar.
that was
Or-
nothing we could. There was nothing we could have done about that because of the time, the phase
I-
that it was made in.
I don't take politics into my arguments anymore.
Or at least think of a better way to kill him.
I think it was good.
Bullets? He's not faster than bullets?
Okay,
I don't get that.
they literally show him dodging arrows. And not saying an arrow's faster than a bullet. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that if he can run fast enough to flip a car, he had enough time to get behind the car.
Honestly.
All right. Despite Quicksilver's death, I think the movie is strong. You cannot knock me for fucking the design of Ultron, because the design of Ultron was stellar. I do wish it was more comic accurate, I do.
I'll be
But
honest.
I liked it, and for the love of God, James Spader.
Oh, not yet.
Well, that's what I was
He
going to
did
say.
carry.
Holy
He did
shit,
carry that.
man.
That's what I was going to say. If you're going to have an actor like him take on the villain role, have him be less scripted.
Yeah, the writing was a little.
The writing was
It was
well,
very
that
scripted.
was
Like, every line was stoic. Every line was a story.
that wasn't well. Here's the thing. I think that was also kind of just the director, because don't forget it's Josh Whedon. If you watch Avengers,
Yeah.
it's the same way. If you watch Justice League, it's the same way.
If it was just a little less stoic and these characters had a little, like these actors had a little more time to feel their roles, I think it would have been a lot better, because it just felt so plain. Like, he wanted to destroy the world, but we really didn't get why. He says humanity's a plague. Well, that's what every villain says.
He went on the internet.
But what-
That's all you need to know.
But what what made Ultron an interesting villain is how the father-son relationship in the comics he had with Ant-Man. That's what made it interesting. Because in the comics, his whole big thing is like, you designed me to fix the world. Let me fix the world. But that's not really what his purpose was in
They didn't
Age of
attack.
Ultron.
Well, hold on. They didn't do it proper, but I still think at the end of the day, what you were able to do with that film. Because Avengers
Okay,
1,
yeah, I
the
get
whole
that.
point of
I
Avengers
get
1
your
was supposed to set
point.
up. Avengers 2 is supposed to be like, this is the jump. Okay, we've gone to the cliff. This is the jumping off point for the rest of the universe.
I mean, it's the same reason I chose Iron Man as
Yeah.
my favorite
No, I get it.
Phase 1 movie.
I think every phase needs that moment. We are like, okay, this is going to set up everything else. And I think it was so well done. For the record, I think I still remember when you see Vision just turn. And he has Mjolnir.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was pretty
that
awesome.
was
that was
awesome.
dope.
That was
you
pretty
can't,
awesome.
You can't argue.
Or when he hits Ultron with
Yeah.
Mjolnir, like,
Yes.
the one thing he couldn't have predicted.
And also, I think if you're really clever, and I still hold out hope for this, is that at the end of that movie, you don't see Ultron die. And there's one comic I would love for them to adapt, and I know they won't.
The Guardians.
Yes. Where,
Yeah,
where he basically builds an army
I'll be
out of a
straight.
metal planet. He basically becomes,
The next.
the Transformers. He basically becomes Transformers.
Who is Star-Lord's dad in the movies?
Oh, Ego?
Yeah, he comes.
Yeah, he basically becomes Ego.
I mean, listen. I think of all the villains they've killed off, the two they should not have were the villain in Black Panther.
Ulysses Claw.
No, not Ulysses. Well,
Yes. I was so upset at that.
He means
Killmonger.
I know. He means Killmonger, but I know what you mean.
But also him, because he had a lot going on for him too. But
don't forget, Black Panther 2's set.
Okay, let's put it this way: all the villains in Black Panther 2 and Ultron, like these guys, had ideas, and so many the Black Panther villain had a lot of Killmonger had a lot of going for him in the future. If they kept him alive, he would have been the perfect guy to take over in terms of the future Black Panther movie.
No, let's be honest.
But he was the rightful heir to the throne. It would have.
Well,
been
now
so
it's Shuri,
perfect.
and you're gonna shut up and be happy.
I'm actually happy about that too. Not gonna lie. But Ultron has so many rich storylines. What a waste to kill him off.
Well, we'll see.
What a waste.
They never.
But
like
he said, yeah, we never did see him
off.
Yeah.
And we do know that Vision somehow, some way is alive.
Okay, yeah, and he's
let's be honest.
There are versions of him without the Soul Stone where he's just gray, and I think that's what you're gonna get in the movie in the WandaVision series.
Well, don't forget, she could there's a good chance she could reanimate him in
which
a
is weird way. But I just want to say one more thing about Age of Ultron. It says a lot when my favorite line in the movie is when he says, "There's nothing better broken," and Ultron responds to Thor by saying, "Well, you've never made an omelet."
He's like, you beat me by 1 second.
And Iron Man says, you beat me by 1 second. If that's the best line in the movie,
it's not the best line in the movie. I can
what's
tell
the
you
best line in the movie?
Is that the best you can do?
That's not the best line in the movie.
Nah, come on, it's a good. It's pretty.
Ultron told Thor, "You've never made an omelet." You told a god of thunder, "You've never cracked an egg."
And I think at that exact moment, if you watch James Spader in the booth recording lines, he's like, "Yeah, this is where I'm never coming back." That line is why I'm not coming back.
That's what broke me too. When you have so many of their actors are very unknowns or very small characters. You brought in one of the biggest names in voiceover acting at the time, and you don't keep him.
I don't think he wanted to be honest.
I don't care what he wanted.
Halfway through the movie, he was like, "Guys, just write me out. Just kill me off."
Yeah. He's like, "You're gonna make me talk about omelets. I don't want to be here." Yeah. That's like taking away Phoenix from Phoenix said, "I'll never do another Joker movie." It doesn't mean I don't want it.
So, all right, Phase 2's done. Phase 3, which is basically just hit after hit after hit after hit after hit.
There's no bad movie that I can think of. Well, yes, there is, but that's
go ahead. You go first. What's your favorite Phase 3 movie?
Oh, my favorite movie from Phase 3 has to be Thor Ragnarok.
Well, it's because you're a Hulk. No, he's a Hulk fan.
Oh,
he's a Hulk
Besides
fan.
being a Hulk
and
fan.
got the closest he's going to get to World War Hulk in the entirety
I will
of the
say
MCU.
the little teasers at World War Hulk, as well as the development of Hulk into a toddler. Love that. I think that's really telling of the Hulk character and really relevant to the modern comics now. But also, you finally get some real development in Thor and Loki, and you get to pay some attention to the Asgardian lore with the Valkyries and the Lord of Hell. And you get to see Odin's dark side because, let's be honest, Odin was never a good father they made him out to seem.
Is this coming from your love for the film, or this is coming from your love of Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
It's not coming from my love for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, although I do recommend the game if anybody is interested in playing it.
I'm interested.
It's definitely a good game. But the truth of the matter is there's so much they did not pay attention to in Thor's, you got Odin in the comics plays a huge role in a lot of past storylines, and to not pay homage to that was so terrible. And to not pay homage as to the relationship that really defines Thor and Loki besides what we get seen in the background. In both Thor 1, 2, and Avengers, all of the relationship we've seen between Thor and Loki is from background, flashbacks. That's not interesting. I want to see some in-time development. Mm-hmm. And you get a lot of that in Thor Ragnarok. You get to see things like the Valkyries, and you get to see that Odin actually wasn't always as great. Who knew for the guy who was millennia old?
Oh, you weren't always this nice.
You weren't always this good father to Thor. I mean, you finally actually get some backlash for his mother's death as well.
Yeah, it's true.
There's a lot going on in Ragnarok that leads directly into Endgame, literally minutes after the movie ends.
Infinity War, but I also
Infinity
think
War, sorry.
the problem with me and
That
and,
makes a huge connection. It makes it really interesting, and you can't top that in a lot of other movies.
Well, here's my thing. I think the worst part about Ragnarok, and this is why I don't count it as one of my top ones for Phase 3, is that I feel like Endgame just ruins the movie.
No, it doesn't.
I think it does, because at the end of the day, Thor, all of this shit happens. You know, Thor 1, 2, and 3 are all, like, together, in my opinion. And at the end of Thor 3 and in Infinity, at the end of Infinity War, you know, it's great what happens to him, but I feel like you're going to tell me that he just decides, I'm going to become Lebowski at the end of that. Like, I can't,
okay.
I always agree, I always thought, yes, despite, like, the last hour of Endgame where you actually get Fat Thor being awesome, I feel like Fat Thor is kind of shitty.
Well,
because I feel like it ruins what you built up in all of those.
If I could defend it in one, I'm not here to defend Thor Ragnarok. I'm not here to like try to change your opinion, but if you think about it this way, Thor, before Thor 1 starts, is thousands of years old. Thousands of years old. In a matter of 4 to 5 years at a max, if you include the 5-year jump skip, I would say maybe 8 years max. This man lost his entire more than half his population, his best friends, his father, mother, brother, twice. Not only loses multiple battles, but loses to someone who's considered a freaking mortal in the eyes of a god, and not only that, loses Mjolnir, like the weapon that was really his for so long, like that defined the God of Thunder. It makes perfect sense why Lebowski Thor came to be. I think you give that a discredit, and I think it's why Thor Ragnarok's so interesting, because it's the only time you ever see a vulnerable Thor. Between 2 Avengers movies and Thor 1 and 2, he's never vulnerable. He's just this battle-worn hero who's like stoic.
OP.
Yeah, OP and stoic in every way. And then in Ragnarok, he gets his ass kicked, and he's like, you know what? I'm not having a good couple years, and you can see it on my freaking face.
I'm not having a good time.
Day. Yeah, and then in the end of it all, if you really want to lead into it, into Infinity War and Endgame and see how he really changes, it's like, huh, well, my life got screwed.
I do feel that was the only way they could develop his character further.
Iron Man and Captain America really only went up. Even in the end, Iron Man ends up with a kid with a happy, decent life and gets Spider-Man back. Captain America gets everyone back and actually finds purpose in his life and retires. Thor is just fat, unhappy, and ends up in space because he needs to find a purpose that is not defined by his past. And if you don't appreciate that storytelling...
But his story is also not over yet.
Yeah.
We are getting a fourth one.
That's what I'm saying. He changed. He goes from this stoic character that we hated to this funny character, Ragnarok, and he says, you know what? The Ragnarok was the happiest I've ever been, ironically enough. And I think the only way from here is to just continue flowing with the chains. That's why he makes Valkyrie the queen of Asgard. There was no other way his story could have ended in the first saga.
Here's a question, before we get to the next favorite movie. Does Thor die in Thor: Love and Thunder? Because you know you're getting female Thor, whether dimension hopping or not. You will get Valkyrie back. You will get the Guardians. You're getting Adam Warlock. There's going to be a lot of shit in that movie.
I think Thor does not die.
He could go for one last team-up movie.
I think he dies in the team-up movie as the leader.
I don't think we're getting a team-up movie until like end of Phase 5, Phase 6.
Okay, so you know how we were complaining before about how Quicksilver's death was sudden and really just wasted?
Yeah.
Thor's death in a team-up movie, even if it ends up being Love and Thunder and it's a team-up of like 7 or 8 superheroes like they're making it out to be, and he dies to save all of them, he's basically saving the next generation of heroes. And I'm not going to lie, that's how you kill off somebody.
Alright.
You gotta kill them off
Saving
the universe or dying of old age. There's no in between.
It needs to be a Cap or Tony send-off.
Exactly. He cannot have a...
He's a part of the big three.
I saved 2 people.
He's
a
Marvel's big 3. It has to be.
But I don't think he's going to die, personally, but I wouldn't be upset if
they do it right, I would accept it.
Yeah.
I also don't know what else Chris Hemsworth is doing right now besides Thor.
I don't think he wants to do anything. It keeps him jacked. Do you ever see him in his workout videos?
Oh, he's jacked.
The dude's just lifting axe. He watches soccer games, with the axe in hand.
That's cool, though.
That's how much
I would do that.
That's how much he loves the character.
Well, all right. That's fair. So, Carlos, what's your favorite Phase 3?
So I want to say Black Panther.
That is a great storytelling. As well.
Yeah, but
it makes me sad to watch Black Panther now. Like I can't watch it and not be sad.
exactly. But I did think, is it maybe an effect of Chadwick's passing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Have you seen it? You saw it before though.
I did see it before, and it was amazing. But I don't think it was at my top Phase 3 movie. But
it's a great origin movie. That's
it is. But I recently rewatched it, and I realized I really love this film.
It may hit differently. That's the problem.
But is it your favorite? Like that's what I feel like you haven't said yet.
Of the Phase 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. The only problem I have with it is that last fight, it was full on CGI and it looked very, very fake. It just dragged me out of the movie. Like.
Yeah. But again, the storytelling is what makes.
Oh no! Yeah. But
the
it would.
authenticity in it.
It would have been perfect if not for that last fight. But even like after that, the send off of Killmonger
was great.
Yeah.
The send off was fantastic.
Beautiful.
Although I wish they kept him alive.
With hindsight, it would have.
That was the only villain we ever saw die because he just flopped over from a distance at the end of the movie. He just fell over like, okay, I'm dead.
I saw the sunrise. I can rest now. That was his thing, and I agree, but I also think like, the problem is like I haven't seen it since.
You've seen it once?
I've watched it twice.
I've saw it once.
Really is. It holds up the test of time.
I haven't seen it twice, but the problem is like now, I say if I do go back and watch it, will I get the rose-tinted glasses effect because Chadwick is gone?
Well, then you have to look at it as a work of him and not a work of a man who's dead. Okay, I mean that seriously.
Try to look at the story.
Yeah, I guess I have to sit through and rewatch it. I do get what you're saying.
You also have to remember he's an American actor.
Is he?
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah, that accent wasn't real.
No, I know the Wakandan accent was.
I know
fake,
that.
Which by the way, wow.
Yeah, the way they ran that movie.
That and
so
Infinity
cool.
War.
The soundtrack was amazing.
Yeah,
no,
one of the best.
I'm not gonna say it's authentic, because it's really not.
He is American.
Well, they did try to make it as
was?
authentic as possible.
I don't know.
That was their goal.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I remember that was their goal when they announced Black Panther years and years ago. Was they said they were going to try to make it as authentic as possible to even if it wasn't. Even though
a real culture,
it's a fake culture. They wanted to make it embedded in African culture, which they did. I believe
they did a great job.
They did a good job.
The way they looked, the way they dressed, it was so awesome. I love that none of them. I read this recently in like an article after, and I guess this is part of the rose tinted glasses thing. But someone pointed out to me that not a single person has straight hair in the movie, like who's part of Wakanda. They all have curly hair because they lack white cultural influence, like from coming over from the 1800s, because none of them had that culture. And I absolutely love little details like that. It makes so much sense to me, and it makes the movie stand alone so much better.
Yeah, as a standalone, because honestly, it doesn't lead up to anything in any other movies except Black Panther appearing.
Well, no, it does. It sets up.
It maybe sets up Infinity War a little bit with Wakanda.
Yeah, because you do know you're gonna see that area again, and you will see it in Black Panther.
But again, it's not like you saw that much of Wakanda anyway. You kind of just saw an open grass field.
Yeah. Well, I got that. That's fair.
Also, the OP-ness of Wakanda was really nice to see done full effect.
Yeah.
I think
because that's such a comic accurate.
Because you needed an army.
Forget you needed an army. They put up a force field.
That's also true.
That's like the only force field in existence.
Yeah, really. The MCU, like for a very technology savvy universe,
Wakanda just wrecked them.
Like that. I think at that point, the only time we ever saw force fields was Guardians 2.
And maybe in Endgame when Iron Man used
I mean before
Black Panther.
Before Black Panther. The only
Guardians
time
only.
was Guardians 2, where you see the space suit.
That's not even a force field.
Well, technically,
that's
it's
how
force
is he
field
breathing through a shield that was skin tight?
Just shut up. It's superheroes.
Don't question it.
Anyway, your favorite?
Yeah, my favorite is it's Avengers 2.5. It's Civil War. It's so good.
The only complaint I have about it is the lack of superheroes.
What?
I enjoy the 6-on-6, but like if anyone who's ever paid attention to the actual Civil War comic, we're talking like
it's a bigger event.
The entire Civil War community that pays attention specifically to the Accords.
Did you also want
that paid nearly no importance in Civil War?
Let's be 100% honest. If Civil War was as big as it was supposed to be, like it was in the comics, did you really want to see mechanical, super buffed cyborg Thor?
You didn't need that because they didn't kill Captain America.
You
Like-
should. I think besides the send off, if we didn't get that send off in Endgame,
It wouldn't have made
would've
the
been a
killing. Yeah,
huge missed
it would have been a
opportunity
waste
to
to not
kill
kill him in Civil War.
not
But
kill him there.
the way they didn't, since they didn't kill him in Civil War, you didn't need Mechanical Thor. But they could have postponed it to at least right before Infinity War or right before Thor Ragnarok, so they could have all of those superheroes in the lineup.
I don't think you needed it. I think it was fine the way it was. And
It made
set
sense for the purpose of the movie. It was fantastic. It's just a bit disappointing.
It's like what I used to. It's like what I said. I remember saying this when we first went in to see Civil War, and I remember, and I keep bringing this up whenever somebody talks about the way that they interpret comic storylines. It is adapted for film. They are not doing this by the book. If you did this by the book, we'd be here for you. We would not be in the predicament we're in. These movies would not be successful if they were just straight comic adaptations. They were adapted for film. And I think the way they adapted Civil War for the MCU in general, because by that point, it was for the universe. It was not for, solid storytelling. This was, we are using this to build up the Avengers being fractured to lose. That was the whole point of the movie, was that we needed to get from Civil War to Infinity War in as little steps as possible.
Well, I need you to understand, in like the actual context of Civil War, the whole point, the biggest event that follows Civil War is World War Hulk.
Which is, if you have not read that comic, please do. It is phenomenal.
If you want to read that comic, Carlos, I have 5 or 6 of them in the drawer.
Okay.
You should absolutely read them.
Okay.
I could also send you a video of it complicated together.
No, you got to read them.
Yeah,
They're
well,
so
alright.
good.
Yeah, I think
Well-
I'd rather read it.
But
But
the only thing I'm missing is the 6th one. You got to find that one online.
okay, I'll try. But yeah, I can't say I wasn't disappointed by Civil War. At
You
least
were one of
the
people
first.
I remember you were one of those people that loved it to heart for the first few months that it was
Don't
out.
take away from it. It's a great movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie, but I was expecting maybe a little more. Like the first time I came out of the
Yeah.
theater, I was like, well, that was a bit underwhelming.
I thought it was
It didn't.
the best thing you could, because here's the thing, I'm also not necessarily counting Infinity War and
And
Endgame.
Endgame.
'Cause
Okay.
those I think those are you can't. Those are on a different plateau.
That's what I was saying. It's like there's certain movies
You
you can't
can't count those two.
out on a ranking list because they're just made to be on a different level.
Yeah, those are those are not films. Those are events. Those are events you need to just be present for.
All right, if we had to pick our best of
Overall.
MCU,
Oh,
if we had to agree on one, and we're including Endgame and Infinity War.
I think Infinity War and Endgame the supercut. Just 5
Yeah,
hours long
five
of
and a half
pure
hours cut
joy.
is
Really?
unbelievable.
Yeah, I think because here's the thing: if you have 5.5 hours, and you have Disney Plus, and you can watch both of those
If you can watch Infinity War back
In
to back with
sync?
Endgame,
in sync, oh, it's an experience.
we tried doing it. It didn't.
Oh,
work.
we can't. I can't
It's
do
a
it.
lot.
It's a lot.
It was a lot.
But-
I did it when Endgame came out. I invited a bunch of friends over. We saw Infinity War, and right after that, we headed to the theater, and it was amazing.
It's a great experience.
I
Yeah.
remember because when we went to see Endgame the first time, the morning of, because I still have it. It's a bootleg copy on my old computer of just Infinity War. I watched that to remind myself of what happened before I went in to see Endgame, and it helped a
So
lot.
good.
It's so good. But don't.
Well, what
pick
you were
the-
gonna say
Well, yeah, I actually did not have that movie listed at all. Mine is Guardians.
again?
The first one?
Yeah,
Well,
as
Guardians
my
2
favorite.
Guardians 2 is great, not better than the first one. Though.
Well, hold on, because you can do the same thing you do in Infinity War and Endgame with Guardians and Guardians 2, because the timelines match up.
but it doesn't.
And I don't no Guardians 2 is.
I
Not,
still think Endgame stand on his own is a great movie.
But
without
wait,
Endgame.
really? Guardians
Guardians
1
is
your
my
best
favorite MCU movie.
I'm
I
shocked.
I get it because the storytelling's fantastic.
I
The
love the comedy, the visuals, the characters. They introduced 6 characters who were nobodies.
Again, yeah.
They made
best
you
part
like
of
a
the
talking
MCU
tree.
Exactly.
Telling and not so big characters into fucking blockbusters.
And it did introduce the Power Stone.
And Rolling Executioner and our first real
Look at Thanos.
yeah, like
Yeah.
so many great things happen in Guardians. I
got darker
respect that
over the
decision.
films.
Fully, what?
No, that actually
Got
happened.
bigger.
He got bigger, and his skin tone got more and more purple as the films went on.
And his chin's
I
weird.
love that.
His
chin was
got better.
different.
Weird.
His
Yeah.
chin got
It
better
was less
also.
ball sacky.
Even though we do get that, I still think that's one of the best lines in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Where he says, where Star's like, you have balls for your chin, dude. I fucking love that.
But overall, like as a standalone movie, Guardians is my favorite one.
Without a doubt, you're totally right.
Yeah.
It's
Like
one of the best.
obviously Infinity War, Endgame,
Once again, they're events.
they're
not
events.
films.
They are. They're Endgame best cinematic event to date.
I don't think
Hopefully,
you'll get.
Ever.
I don't think. for a
hopefully
while.
Spider-Verse. Hopefully Spider-Verse beats
Guys,
it.
if Spider-Verse caps Endgame as the #1 box office event of all time, I'm gonna cry.
It
I
might.
don't think it will.
I don't think
Because-
any MCU
Well,
movie
here's
should
my
top
thing.
Endgame.
Here's my thing. If you're looking at if you look at what I think I think if Spider-Man, I think it could do it, only because there's been such a long gap from an event. Because think about it, 2020 kind of like gave everybody I was afraid of this. I remember telling him I was afraid of this when at the end of 2019, we may have gotten hit without if coronavirus didn't happen, we would have probably gotten hit with Marvel fatigue very quickly. Because there was a lot of stuff coming out in 2020.
Coming out in 2020 and 2021.
Yes.
That was,
Honestly,
a lot.
yeah, I get that because I wasn't even planning on watching Black Widow.
No, me neither.
I think now
I don't
I
know if
am.
you saw Far From Home.
I did.
I did too, in theaters, because it followed up on Endgame so well. It was like, how do you not watch it? It's like the perfect
Yeah.
come down movie.
Yeah,
It's what Iron Man 3 should have been.
Yeah. It's kind of the same story, though.
It is actually, and that's kind of disappointing.
No, but I think it pays homage to like the whole thing they
I don't
with
want to
the
get.
overtaking of characters and their themes and their ideologies.
I personally do, don't get me wrong. I like Spider-Man. I'm a very big. I was a Spider-Man fan before anything else, and I like the Tom Holland Spider-Man. I like the universe that he's building. But to be 100% honest, Spider-Man: Homecoming and Spider-Man: Far From Home, to me,
they're not good movies.
they're not good movies.
No.
They're not. I'm sorry,
I
they're not.
disagree, but I'm going to refrain from going there for sake of time.
Well, I'm just.
Okay,
I'll
I
go
get that.
quick. I'll go quick with what I think.
No,
You don't have
no,
to rebuttal.
Respect my opinion.
All right,
and let's
fine.
not go into
All right,
it.
next thing. What is the biggest MCU flop? What was the movie you came out of the theater and were like, well, that sucked.
Infinity War. No,
Oh, God, I beat you.
Man, I'm gonna say Thor 2 just because right now I don't even remember if I saw it in theaters.
That's what I think it's the only film I haven't
Regardless, if we
seen.
saw it in theaters. It
I've
was terrible.
I've seen it once and
I saw it on TV.
I have had no desire to see it again.
The
Gotta
only
be
reason,
honest.
the only thing I liked about the Thor movies was Kat Dennings because she's hilarious. She's a very funny actor.
Yeah, she is. I gotta say Thor 1 for me. And the only reason I say Thor 1 over Thor 2 was because at least with Thor 2, they were talking about the importance of the Infinity Stones.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I guess.
And you saw more of Asgard as well, which I appreciated.
We did
because-
see the ether.
Until you get to 3, and in 3 they just blow it up.
Yeah, I mean, in Thor 2, you got a little more. You paid a little more attention to like the lore of Thor, and like you see a little more of Loki and working with him and his mother and Odin.
Oh, his mother dies, right?
Yeah, in Thor 1.
Yeah, that happens and nobody cared.
And the reason I think my big flop is Thor 1 is because of just how slow the movie was and how little of Thor you actually saw.
Also, he's very bland.
He is
Yeah,
very bland.
he is very
In
bland.
Thor 1, he spends like the majority of the movie as a human. And then at the very end,
yeah.
he defeats the Destroyer with one hit.
Yeah.
And then goes to Asgard and like lets Loki die. And I'm like, well, this was just a whole fucking disaster.
Here's the thing. I think you can't really fault. See, with me, this is why I don't think Thor 1 and 2 should be judged as harshly as they are. Because my whole argument with that is those two movies were trying to figure out what do you do with Thor. 'Cause
Okay,
he's such
More
a-
so,
the
Thor
first
1 though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Thor 2
1
should have fixed
it. Thor 1
Which is-
should have been what Thor Ragnarok
which is exactly why I'm saying Thor 2 is a
That's a fair
bigger
point.
flop
That's a fair
than
point.
Thor 1. They were still like figuring out
Yeah.
what to do. 'Cause-
Okay, in Avengers, they set up a really clear path for Thor. Not gonna lie. Like, they explained that he had this overwhelming presence on Earth when he came here, and he was bringing Loki back, and like he had to deal with all the backlash of these things. And they could have addressed his development as a character, and instead they just didn't do anything.
No, they kind of just dropped the ball.
They
with that
completely
one.
dropped the ball. And then Thor 2, they ended the same way. It was like, well, I am now staying on Earth to figure out, like, what has to happen with all of these Infinity Stones. And then Age of Ultron, he has no fucking development.
Age of Ultron, he
Again.
basically, like, I think in the first, like, 30
It's
minutes of that, he basically just says, I think he literally goes up to Tony and says, I'm going back to Asgard. Screw all of you. And then he just doesn't. And I'm just like,
Listen,
okay.
first four movies we see Thor in pose near zero development in him as a character. Like, near zero.
he has 2 solo movies.
Yeah, that says something about a series. And Ragnarok completely redeemed him for a lot of people,
Mhm.
including
Yeah.
myself.
Here's the thing. I also don't, my biggest flop is Iron Man 3.
Wow.
Because
I mean, it's not a great movie,
Well, no.
but it says a lot about his character.
I was originally going to say The Incredible Hulk. I was going to. But my
don't
whole
even
argument
count
is
that.
that
That was
I
garbage.
do not think of the Phase 1 as being necessarily bad movies. I look at those as growing pain movies. Because
Okay,
they
yeah,
needed
that's a
to
fair
figure out what worked. Because don't forget, they did something that no one was ever going to do, and nobody has ever been able to attempt since.
Building
had
a
a-
universe, yeah.
Yes.
They had to finish a story in one movie while still leaving you a lot of room to grow. And I don't mean a little room, like a lot of openness at the end.
What, for Iron Man 3?
For any of the first Phase 1 movies.
Oh, no, yeah.
Like, the way each of them ended had to be open-ended because they didn't know what Phase 2 was gonna
Exactly.
You got to introduce a character, develop them, and
leave
leave it
open enough for
and
another
they
director. to
decided
possibly
in
pick it up.
Avengers that Thanos was going to be the big bad, but they had no idea how that was going to come together.
I think
It took a lot of planning.
that's why I think and the MCU and Marvel Studios and Disney didn't know what the plan was. I think until Age of Ultron. I think
I'll be
once
honest with
Age
you.
of Ultron happens, they were like, okay, this is where we're going, and let's throw in other stuff to set up other things. That's why Guardians was thrown in.
I'll be
Captain
straight
Marvel
with
was
you.
thrown in.
I think Disney locked these guys in a room and said, you got to figure this out because it's great, but you're going to fucking lose it.
Yeah, that's why I think honestly, I think Disney buying Marvel was the best thing that happened.
No.
Because here's my thing. Look at the way
They wouldn't
in
have
the
made-
long run, yeah, I
in
guess.
the long
Yeah.
run, yes, because A, they can supply you with the funds. B, you don't have to deal with the other studios.
Let's just have Disney
That's the
buy
problem
DC
we've
too,
had.
so
Okay,
we could do Batman versus
I do get
No.
that, though. No interference from
No, yeah.
different studios. It's all
Yeah.
very
'Cause
coherent.
we've
The fact
seen
that
what studios
Disney-
can do to films.
Disney, the reason it worked out is because Disney bought Marvel, gave them a budget, and said you can operate independently. Because that's really what they're doing. They have to get approval, they have to upload their stuff in Disney Plus, but Kevin Feige is not an executive of Disney, that's not his title. He is the director of Marvel.
Yes.
Okay, and that makes an impact because if he was an executive of Disney running the Marvel division, he would have to answer everything in the executive board of Disney, and there'd be a lot of disagreement.
Yeah.
But they basically said, okay, you have to report to us, get approval from us, but you're the one, who makes the decisions.
Yeah, you make the final say. Whatever you say goes, and I think that is what keeps this whole thing afloat. So now we've gotten the flops out of the way. We've gotten all the phases out of the way. What are you looking forward to the most? And Carlos, I can already see on your face that I know exactly the three words that are coming out of your mouth when I say, what are you looking forward to most in Phase 4?
Even though it's not confirmed yet, Spider-Verse.
Mhm.
Yeah.
2 words.
I thought you were going to say Spider-Man 3, but...
Oh, well,
So Spider-Verse.
yeah.
This is the Thor of Spider-Man, the Ragnarok of Spider-Man, the chance to redeem him.
If you're going to tell me that you're going to bring my childhood Spider-Man and the films up until 2002 into the MCU in some capacity,
How's that work?
if it's the multiverse, that means that, yes, they've acknowledged that these movies
They acknowledge
exist.
that Blade exists
Well,
just
they
by
haven't.
announcing the movie.
They haven't... No, because it's a new Blade.
Yeah.
Oh,
They said Wesley Snipes will be if possibly a cameo. They never said he was going to be Blade. If he was
gonna appear.
Blade, then yes, then we know multiverse. We already know multiverse is happening. Once you saw the words Multiverse of Madness in a title of a film, you kind of put two and two
Can
together
I-
and you knew where this was going.
I would like to give my personal, like, what I'm looking forward to and what I'm excited about. If I can give 2 separate things here, is that okay?
That's fine.
Yeah.
I am most excited about the Multiverse of Madness movie. Amongst all the TV shows and movies, I think that's going to be the best movie if they do it right, and it has so much potential to basically lead up to, like, the next Iron Man level character in Doctor Strange by really directing where everyone is going. But what I'm personally looking forward to, Moon Knight.
Moon Knight.
Yeah, I really like Moon Knight as a character. I think there's a lot to unpack in
Well,
the
you
character.
do know who's playing him, right?
I saw it, but I don't remember who.
It's Poe from...
It's Oscar Isaac.
I know.
Oscar
Well, I
Isaac,
think that's a
Isaac.
pretty fitting character, to be honest. I think he's going to do well with it. His personality kind of fits the many personalities of Mark Spencer, however you pronounce it, Moon Knight.
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight is super cool. I think there's a lot of potential to introduce a really dark, brooding, rich vigilante,
So Batman, but for the MCU.
but way more psychotic. Like,
Okay.
he's just a madman. There's really no explaining him. But I just think there's so much potential to really introduce a super interesting character.
I'm very surprised you didn't say She-Hulk.
I like She-Hulk, but She-Hulk is not the Hulk.
Well, he's Hulk
The
is in
She-Hulk.
it.
The
So
She-Hulk.
is Abomination.
You need to understand that She-Hulk is a very strong character. She's very strong, but she has complete control of herself most times, and is a lawyer. In the new She-Hulk in the comics right now, she's actually more similar to the Hulk, where she has a little bit more of a savage, quote-unquote, side, where she's more powerful. But at the end of the day, the She-Hulk they're going to put in this movie, the She-Hulk everyone knows and loves, is the lawyer. Which makes no sense, because he just took Bruce Banner's blood and pumped it into herself.
Well, I'm wondering how they're actually going to pull that off.
They're probably going to do the actual comic book origin, which is where something happens, she gets into an accident, she needs a blood transfusion, and Bruce is the only one there, and he happens to know that they match blood types. So he gives her blood, and because they share DNA, it matched, and she became She-Hulk. But she doesn't exactly have the same, personality disorder that Bruce has.
Okay, so here's my thing, and this is I wanted to make sure I was looking at this correctly. None of that stuff comes out until after Multiverse of Madness.
You drive me crazy when you say things like that.
Because no. Because here's the argument that here's my thing, and this is what I'm looking forward to. Two things. The one thing that I'm looking forward to the most, film-wise, is Spider-Man 3, because Spider-Verse, please, God, Spider-Verse. But also, I think just the opportunity that you have in front of you. Because, yes, we teased the multiverse. That was teased in Spider-Man Far From Home. Despite it being fake. But I do think Mysterio knew what he was talking about. I think... Because don't forget, he did work for Stark. I think
No. I think he was just making it up.
Who worked for Stark?
Mysterio. I forget the actual name of the alter ego.
He didn't really work for him. I think he kind of just tried to sell something to him.
No, he sold something to him. He worked for him because he worked on the holographic technology from Civil War.
Whatever, I don't know.
But the whole thing, I think, is let's say he even was pulling it out of his ass. I think, just... If you look at every single thing that's going to happen between January 15th, which is the first episode of WandaVision, and March 25th, 2022, which is Multiverse of Madness, everything that happens in that time span, I feel like is going to be extremely connected, and because of the circumstances we are in, it's going to be very easy to get involved, and it's going to be very easy to jump back and forth into what you're watching and just enjoy it, and it's going to be very well done. And I think if you go the right way with this, if you go with Wanda going crazy in the first episode and just go ham, because we know that they can do that. We've seen them do it in Thor Ragnarok. We've seen them do it in Guardians. Just let the director and everybody go loose and just go crazy with it. This is going to be a very fun phase. Mm-hmm. And also, Multiverse of Madness is probably the pinnacle of what's going to happen. And for the love of God, it's a horror movie directed by Sam Raimi. Oh, that's going to be good.
I think the last question we have to ask after entering all of these various thoughts is, who is the big bad of Phase 4?
Well, Carlos, what are you most looking forward to besides Spider-Man?
Such a tough question.
I mean, just Spider-Man, really.
Just Spider-Man.
I mean, WandaVision's coming out, in 3 days?
Yeah. Gonna watch every single episode when that comes out. It's gonna be like Mandalorian for me, just like.
I mean, listen, you'll watch all of the Marvel shows come out because the way they expanded it.
Oh no, yeah.
Episode a week.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be able to sit comfortably and watch an episode.
In reality, overall, you're gonna spend 70 hours paying attention to Marvel content, but it's really only 1 hour a week, so you don't feel it.
It's not gonna hit you.
You're only dedicating a majority of your life to it.
But I mean, I am excited for the unofficial trilogy that Chris mentioned in the last episode of WandaVision, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, those three.
Like you said, they're gonna be all connected.
They have to be connected. It's dumb if they don't.
And it's gonna be a giant turning point.
Yeah, this will set up
without a doubt
everything. This entire fate, those three things: WandaVision, Multiverse of Madness, and possibly Spider-Verse, if it's Spider-Verse. Will set up everything.
Something you've never heard or seen before is a movie. You've seen TV stars maybe making appearances in movies in their character. Well, you've never seen a movie character make an appearance on a TV show.
Well, these are I honestly do not count.
This is pretty crazy.
I don't count these Disney Plus series as shows.
Okay,
these are movies, extended films. I think.
But you have to understand how drastic of a change is. To make a movie takes a lot of work. To film enough content for a 3-hour movie takes a lot of work. But to film enough content for a 7-hour TV season is 5 times the fucking work.
Because you filmed I know, and I'm very happy that Marvel's been able to do this at the past capacity they have been, and I think it's only gonna get better. But I'm so excited for the prospect of what is to come in this phase. Like if you sit down and you look at this calendar and you're looking at all the stuff that's gonna come out, it should look amazing. So, with that, please let us know what you guys are most looking forward to on your thoughts of what Phase 4 could possibly be. What is your favorite Marvel movie?
Who's the big bad?
Oh, yeah. I was closing it up, and I didn't do that. So I think, personally, I'm going to go back to what I said at the top of this. Wanda. I think Wanda's going to go crazy, and she is going to either rip this dimension to shreds, or you're going to have everybody try... Like, it's going to be an Endgame, or at least an Avengers-level threat.
I think it's going to be King the Conqueror.
They did confirm.
Well, he's in Eternals, though. He's the bad guy.
But
for
with
Eternals.
the time, what was going on with the time machine before, and all this multiverse shit, it makes perfect sense that someone who's a time and dimension hopper like King the Conqueror will fit perfectly into this universe.
Well, oh no, wait, he's not the bad guy for Eternals. He's the bad guy for
And also the
Ant-Man
introduction
3.
of King the Conqueror can bring other things in.
Well, Loki's
like
gonna have
Galactus.
the time. Well, Loki's gonna have the time. What is it? The time police on him.
Exactly. So King the
I don't know
Conqueror, Galactus can lead up after, because at some point they need to have Galactus. I'm tired of waiting.
You're gonna get that in
Phase 6.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like after you've introduced X-Men and Fantastic
That's if they don't
Four.
buckle first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'll buckle with the amount of. If this hits the way it's supposed to.
Oh, if they do it right.
If they do this right, it all hinges. Once again, it's like Iron Man. You know, we've seen.
They did their
This
first
better
saga.
end.
The hard part's following it up.
Yeah, your first saga. This is gonna be the multiverse saga, and this could flop. But I hope starting the January 15th.
I mean, if it takes as long as the first saga did, you guys realize we're gonna be like 33, 34.
I will gladly take my my kids to the theater and be like, watch
This
this.
started in 2008, and it ended really in 2020 now, because the next one's not starting till now. That's 12 years, and if it takes another 12 years from now, we're talking 32, 33.
We were 9?
9 years old.
Wow.
When Iron Man came out. We are now 21 when they're starting to announce the next series, next saga.
That's crazy.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
All right, so let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. They do go a long way. And we will see you next time on the OOH-RAH podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye.